So this is going to be one of the, I like this video a lot for seeking first to understand and then to be understood.
One thing that gets in the way of meaningful communication is autobiographical listening. This means that we filter what others say through our own story, our own experiences, our biases, prejudices, and all of our values. You see, when I listen autobiographically, part of my story gets added to your story. And then when I respond, I base it on my own frame of reference. I might ask questions, or I might agree or disagree. I might decide it's necessary to counsel you, or try to solve the problem, or fix the situation. So with the best of intentions, I can end up leading the conversation. And even worse, I don't hear what you're really trying to say. Autobiographical responses fall into 4 categories. Probing, asking questions. Evaluating, like agreeing or disagreeing. Advising, that is giving counsel. Or interpreting, or trying to figure a person out or to analyze them. But don't misunderstand. Autobiographical responses can be very appropriate, especially when the emotional bank account with another person is high. But when real understanding and clarity are needed, and when the problems are very emotional, autobiographical responses only get in the way. Watch the impact of autobiographical responses in the next segment.
Doing your homework?
What's the point? I'll never use it.
Of course you will.
Classical Greek drama. Not likely.
No one gets anywhere without an education these days.
Really? Joe's got a full-time job and he's already a manager. He has his own car, his own apartment. And me? I'm not that interested in this.
But you're interested in this?
Absolutely. I just think it's a waste of time to learn something you'll never use in the real world, when I could be out working, getting a real experience, making money.
So you want to quit? Think about your sister. She struggled in school, but she worked hard, and now
she's the queen of college and probably become a brain surgeon and in global warming. I'm not my sister, Mom.
You're welcome, Pat.
I know it's hard right now, but all the effort will be worth it. When I was your age,
you wanted to join a rock band and travel the world, but instead, you chose hard work and all this.
You just have to hang in there.
No, I don't.
Fine. Quit. Move in with Joe. You think life is so wonderful, so easy? Maybe then you'd appreciate what you have here.
Fine, maybe I will.
Fine.
So what were some signs of probing, judging, advising, interpreting?
I think she was more like probing into assuming how he was feeling, or that, him picking not something as important as homework over video games, and then he immediately became defensive, when it was kind of like if she went a different route, maybe he wouldn't have gotten defensive so quick, and then more could have been accomplished instead of it just going south.
Right, yeah. So, then what she did, she compared him
To the
to
sister.
the sister, which nobody wants to hear about, right? So what did the end result, what was the end result in that situation? So he's gonna go live with who? Joe. Because Joe's got it better, right?
She also used her own experience.
Yes,
too.
correct. So, and I think we're all guilty of that to some extent, right? Because you try to almost like relate that person's problem with something you experienced, so you can try to advise to hopefully help them out and guide them, but sometimes that's not what is needed. They're not really looking for you to solve their problem, they're just looking to truly be understood in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see another.
Yep, so we're actually going to see
Part 2.
part 2 of this.
but utilize an empathic listening,
Right.
which again is a Covey trademark, not real word, it's a Covey word, empathic listening.
So we want to pay attention to what is different this time around.
Same scenario, different strategy.
Correct.
So again, this is seeking first to understand.
Too often, we listen to others with the intent to reply. Empathic listening is an altogether different way of being. It is listening with the intent to understand, with the intent to get to the bottom of an issue. It's one of the most important habits any leader can practice. It's the key to effective results in interpersonal relationships, in teams, and in organizations. When we listen empathically, we try to understand the other's point of view with no judgment, with no preconceived end in mind. We simply seek to understand. We temporarily suspend our view long enough to see the world through their eyes. Only people who are secure enough with themselves, those with a firm grasp of the private victory, have the capacity to listen in this way. It's important to note that empathic listening is not about agreeing or disagreeing. It's not about solving or fixing or figuring someone out. It's simply about understanding another's point of view and feelings. Watch what happens when you listen with the sole intent to understand.
Doing your homework?
What's the point? I'll never use it.
Sounds like you're frustrated.
I'm just sick of school. It's pointless. I mean, look at Joe. Dropped out of school, has a full-time job, has his own car, his own apartment, and I'm stuck here trying to decipher some ancient Greek play no one even cares about.
So you think Joe's got it better?
I mean, Joe's always bragging about how much better his life is now that he doesn't have to worry about teachers bossing him around or everyone telling him what to do.
Joe's got a lot of freedom.
Yeah, I mean, at least he's doing something. He has to work late nights so he can't hang out with us as much or go to the games, but at least he's going somewhere.
So he's missing out on a lot, but at least he's moving forward.
I just can't get this stuff. Dad's gonna kill me. You won't tell him, will you?
You're worried about what Dad will think?
It's just he always talks about how education is important and how he expects me to go to college, but how can I do that if I can't do this?
So you're worried that if you don't understand this, then you won't get it in college either.
I know I can't. They gave me a reading test, right? On the reading test, I scored on the 9th grade level, Mom. The 9th grade. I'm a senior.
And that worried you.
No matter what I do, I just don't get it. And I know Dad will know that I'm flunking out. I don't want to quit school, but I don't know any way out.
You don't want to drop out of school, and you don't want to disappoint Dad.
Right. So what will I do?
I'm not sure. But I'm sure we can figure things out.
Cue the lights.
All you need to do is reflect what they feel and say in your own words. And because it's so simple, we often underestimate its power. If you don't believe me, just try it tonight with someone important to you. Just simply reflect what they feel and say in your own words. Remember now, listen with the intent to understand, not to reply.
You jump in, Kara.
It's the key to opening up people's hearts and getting to the real issue.
Okay, so I want to just jump in. Kara, take this because we're live. Okay. So again, NADA says the number one reason why people don't buy cars is because they've landed on the wrong car. which tells me that we're not qualifying prospects the right way. We're not asking the right questions. You know why? Because too many times when you're engaged, even on the phone, but especially in person, it's like playing double dutch. That's the analogy I used yesterday. You ever see double dutch for real? Especially in the hood, them girls, mostly girls that play double dutch, were murdered. That you have to be careful, but people are looking at you like they're playing double dutch. They just want you to shut up just so they can say what they've got to say. They're not listening to you. Has anybody ever experienced that? You're talking to somebody, and you're thinking to yourself, they ain't even listening to me. They're just waiting for me to just shut up enough so they can jump in the conversation. And that is not practicing empathic listening. Dr. Covey says, seek first to understand and then to be understood. So it's not just shut up and listen and not pay attention. You have to listen empathically without probing, judging, and the things that you saw. That was the same scenario, but handled completely two different ways. You all agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Karen, back to you.
Right, so what was different this time around?
Let's talk about even positioning. In the first video, she stayed what?
Behind him.
Correct.
Close and was level with them.
Correct. She came, she sat over on the couch, she would pillow the book, and really tried to exactly be at the same level as him. Where the first one was behind the counter, judging, probing, almost like this wall that's here, right? So what else was different?
Or she kept like repeating back what he said, so I think, you know, it was like a non-confrontational way to do it, but at the same time to know for him that she was on the same level,
Right.
you know, that she was understanding his feelings.
Exactly, because to repeat it back in a different way is showing that you're understanding, you're truly listening to that person. So that's what empathic listening is. So again, not listening with the intent to respond or reply, but to truly understand someone. So the way that she was able to ask those questions back allowed him to know, and most importantly, what was the result of using empathic listening?
It was calm and collected the entire conversation, and then at the end, it probably felt like they were together and finding a solution, where the first time it was like he was by himself.
Right, yeah. And she also got to find out what that deeper issue was, right? It wasn't that he really hated school. It was because what happened?
He has a ninth grade reading.
Correct, he has a ninth grade reading level, so he felt silly when he saw that and was like, whoa, like instead of facing it and talking to someone about it, then I just don't want to do this. But because she was able to really extract that information from him, she wasn't really doing much talking, she definitely wasn't advising or doing any of that or telling her own stories from her point of view. You know, she was just really trying to figure out how to keep the conversation in motion without too much silence, but at the same time, just again, making sure that she really understood him. And oftentimes when you're doing this, you might feel silly, like you feel like there is gonna be that silence, but let that person fill in the space, because they will. And that's when you're gonna find a deeper issue, because they're almost gonna feel awkward, you know, if they don't say anything, and it's just silent.
Karen, tag in. Okay, let's take us back to automotive for a second here. That is a critical point. John, what do you think one of the biggest reasons or problems or objections are? Would you say price is one of them?
Sure.
Absolutely, right? Now, here's the fact. Only 20% of people are solely price motivated, yet 80, 90, 100% of people are going to be like, what's the price? I'm not coming in unless I get this deal, blah, blah, blah. Can you imagine if we're not truly utilizing empathic listening when we're qualifying a prospect, we're not going to get past the surfaced issue, the surface objection, which is, just price or my spouse or whatever. It's going to be how you engage, how you listen empathically that's going to allow you to get farther down the rabbit trail to find the root. It's not really price, it's this. Or it's not that you got to ask your spouse or you don't have enough time, it's because of the price. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, the more strategic and skilled you are in listening and qualifying, the more and more you get to know. As I said yesterday, there's actually a form of selling by asking questions. It's called the Socratic selling method. You are able to put more pieces together of the puzzle of how to structure that deal or structure that scenario by asking strategic questions. But if you're probing, judging, what you didn't mention is like, or elaborate on is his body language, his demeanor, everything was softened. Before he was defensive, right? Before he was a little bit annoyed, perturbed, like, what you mean, Mom? Like, what you talking about? And then at the end, he was more receptive and it was just a deeper connection. Sales is a relationship business. Remember that. If you are given those vibes that you're impatient, you don't really care about them. It's like, remember the Badger commercials? Yum, 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 right? It's like, I'm on my popcorn break. You know what I mean? Let's just ask them about their mom, their dad, or whatever, their family, pretend like you care. That's the Badger stuff. If we do that, we're not going to ever be able to be truly successful. But if we're able to use empathic listening, like Covey says, if we truly practice seeking first to understand and then to be understood, it's just going to make us all more successful. Y'all agree with that? Yes. All right, Kara, back to you.